Suffering. It is a universal human experience, one that transcends cultures, time periods, and personal circumstances. From the smallest moments of frustration to the deepest existential pain, we all encounter suffering in various forms. But what if the way we approach suffering could change the way we experience it? What if, instead of seeking to avoid or overcome suffering, we could learn to be with it, to understand it, and ultimately transcend it? Today, we're going to explore a profound and unique approach to suffering, an approach that has been central to one of the world's oldest and most transformative spiritual traditions, Zen Buddhism. Welcome to the Unfolding Journey YouTube channel, where we explore deep spiritual teachings, practices, and insights that can change your life. If you're ready to embark on a journey of inner peace, mindfulness, and wisdom, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our future videos. Now, let's dive into the question, how does Zen address the issue of suffering, and what makes its perspective on the Four Noble Truths so unique? To understand Zen's approach to suffering, we must first understand the core framework that Buddhism itself offers. At the heart of the Buddha's teachings are the Four Noble Truths, which form the foundation of Buddhist philosophy. These truths are simple but profound. The truth of suffering, dukkha life, as we experience it, is filled with suffering, whether it's physical pain, mental anguish, dissatisfaction, or the inevitable aging and death. The truth of the cause of suffering, samadaya, the root cause of suffering is our craving or attachment to things, people, and even our own sense of self. We want things to be permanent, but everything is in constant flux. The truth of the end of suffering, Nirodha, there is a way to end suffering, which comes through the cessation of craving and attachment. The truth of the path leading to the end of suffering, Magga, the path to the end of suffering is the Eightfold Path, a guide to ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. These Four Noble Truths offer a comprehensive understanding of suffering and provide a roadmap for overcoming it. But how does Zen, with its emphasis on direct experience and meditation, relate to these teachings? To answer that, we need to look deeper into how Zen practices challenge, refine, and even transcend these concepts. In Zen Buddhism, the experience of suffering is not denied, but its nature is approached differently. Zen encourages us to look directly at our experience of suffering, not to shy away from it or try to intellectualize it, but to face it fully in the present moment. This is where Zen diverges from many other Buddhist traditions. Whereas in more traditional Buddhist schools, suffering is often framed as something to be overcome or transcended through a gradual process of renunciation and purification, Zen takes a more radical approach. In Zen, the primary tool for understanding suffering is direct experience, especially through meditation, zazen. Through the practice of zazen, practitioners sit in stillness, observing the mind without attachment. Instead of trying to push away uncomfortable feelings, thoughts, or experiences, Zen teaches us to sit with them, to allow them to arise and pass without clinging to them. This is a powerful shift from the usual approach of trying to get rid of suffering. Zen invites us to notice how we create suffering through our attachment to ideas, judgments, and expectations. In the Zen view, suffering arises not because things are inherently painful, but because we are unwilling to accept them as they are. Zen practice, therefore, doesn't focus on the concept of overcoming suffering, but rather on embracing the reality of suffering as part of the human experience. By doing so, we can come to a place of profound peace. Let's revisit the Four Noble Truths from a Zen perspective. In Zen, the truth of suffering, dukkha, is acknowledged, but it is not something to be avoided. Instead, Zen teaches that suffering is a part of life, and the key is to experience it with clarity and equanimity. Suffering isn't a problem to be fixed, but an aspect of reality to be seen clearly. Zen doesn't get bogged down in the analysis of suffering. It points us directly to how we experience it. Through the practice of mindfulness and meditation, Zen practitioners are able to observe suffering as it arises, not as something separate from themselves, but as a dynamic aspect of life, constantly changing. When it comes to the cause of suffering, Zen does not emphasize the intellectual understanding of attachment or desire as much as other Buddhist schools. Instead, it focuses on the experience of attachment itself. Zen teaches that attachment arises when we cling to a fixed view of the world, to a sense of permanence that doesn't exist. In Zen, the insight comes not through conceptual analysis, but through the direct realization in meditation that all things are impermanent and nothing lasts forever. This insight leads to a profound letting go of attachment. As for the end of suffering, Nirodha, Zen doesn't promise a final, permanent cessation of suffering in the way some other Buddhist traditions do. Zen's approach is more about the constant unfolding of awareness and the realization that in each moment, suffering is already in the process of transforming, not through intellectual understanding, but through the acceptance and presence with each moment. In this way, suffering naturally dissolves as we stop fighting against it. Finally, the path to the end of suffering, Magga, in Zen is primarily through the practice of meditation, mindfulness, and direct experience. The Eightfold Path is still relevant, but in Zen, it is not something that is pursued through intellectual study or moral striving alone. The path is realized through the practice of just sitting, shikantaza, an approach that emphasizes the experience of the present moment over the attainment of some future goal. Zen teaches that the path to overcoming suffering is not confined to the meditation cushion. In Zen, every moment, no matter how mundane, can become an opportunity to practice mindfulness and awareness. Whether it's washing dishes, walking, or having a conversation, Zen encourages us to bring the same awareness we cultivate in meditation into every action. This practical application of Zen helps transform the way we approach life's challenges. Suffering becomes less something to fix and more something to understand and integrate into the flow of life. By being fully present with our suffering, we dissolve the mental barriers that perpetuate it. So, how does Zen address the problem of suffering? In Zen, suffering is not something to escape from, but something to embrace, experience, and transcend in the moment. By observing our thoughts, feelings, and attachments directly, Zen teaches us that suffering dissolves naturally when we stop resisting it and accept it as part of the flow of life. Unlike other Buddhist traditions that may focus on the elimination of suffering through gradual steps or stages, Zen invites us to realize the non-duality of suffering and peace. In the stillness of meditation, we come to see that suffering is not separate from us, but a part of the ever-changing nature of life itself. As we conclude today's video, remember that Zen is not about finding a final answer to suffering, but about realizing that we already have the ability to respond to suffering with wisdom, presence, and peace. Thank you for watching this video on Zen's unique perspective on the Four Noble Truths and the problem of suffering. If you found this video insightful and would like to continue exploring spiritual wisdom, mindfulness, and deep philosophical teachings, be sure to subscribe to the Unfolding Journey channel. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an opportunity to expand your understanding and transform your life. Until next time, may your journey unfold with peace and wisdom.